Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United.
Welcome to All for United with me, John Foster, MUFC. I have got a couple of internet problems, so Reece, if I start to lag a little bit, just jump in there, mate. But I think I should be okay. But it was a little while to get started there, so it kind of got me a little bit worried. Good day for United fans today. Start of a new era. We knew it was coming anyway, but it's always good to confirm it and get some interviews out, get the fan base. I think the fan base is quite happy with what I've been seeing on Twitter today. So got a few happy faces on screen today. So let's say hello to them all. Reece, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, John. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Not too bad. Been a long day. I will shout out the women's channel, but we did a 2.5 hour show with our 1 year anniversary today on the women's football channel. So I'm going to shout it out. So I've just done that. But no, thank you, Reece. And you did the spaces earlier, didn't you, Reece?
I did. Yeah, I managed to get one done sort of in between a lunch break. We all work hard, so managed to get one done, and a couple of guys jumped on. I think Stu, you were one of them, weren't you, earlier on?
I did indeed.
It's quite good, yeah. So in reaction to Ten Hag today, which was quite a successful spaces as well for us, I think. So yeah, good.
Excellent, yeah. Andy, thanks for joining us again. How you doing, mate?
Oh, good. Thanks for having me on.
Second time tonight. Also, second time tonight. John, how you doing, mate?
I'm very well. Thanks for having me on again. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one, definitely. Yeah, I do like the 10 o'clock ones, and I am actually drinking out of a can tonight as well. So I'm not even going to bother putting it in the glass. I'm just going to drink it straight out of the can. That's the mood I'm in. Stu, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, all good. How are you lot?
I'm all good, mate. Thank you. Not too bad at all. And if it is lagging, I don't know if I'm lagging or Stuart, but it could be either one of us. So apologies about that.
Am I lagging on mine?
A little, yeah.
Not really.
Am I?
I don't know. It might be me.
Hey,
it's okay now.
I'll come out and go back in there.
It might be me, but it might not be you.
No, it's lagging for me too.
You okay, Vicky?
I'm good, thanks.
You've had a busy day, haven't you?
I've had a busy day, yeah.
Well, Reece has had a busy day because he's made a few notes. So we're going to start off with the topic on the thumbnail, of course. Ten Hag interview, start of a new era. First of all, just before we actually go into detail, I'll start off with yourself, Reece, but anyone can jump in after Reece. What was your general thoughts of the actual press conference? You know, the whole demeanour of, the way he was and the way maybe journalists reacted to him and the way Twitter reacted afterwards. What's your general vibe of the whole day?
Yeah, evening to Bainesy and Ansherman, by the way. I just noticed them on the comments. So evening, guys, if you're watching. Yeah, good. I think generally good. We did that spaces, and it was like it was surprisingly, real positive kind of feedback from everybody. It was really good. I think obviously we knew or hoped we knew quite a bit about Erik Ten Hag before he came. We all kind of knew as fans what we wanted out of this, didn't we? That we wanted to see a manager with kind of a no-nonsense attitude to football and with a clear direction in terms of his players and his style. And with everything that he said today, we kind of got that. I think we got a little, I mean, let's not get carried away. I think we've got a lot to be positive about for next season, but we've also got to keep his cards close to his chest a little bit in terms of what we're expecting for next season out of both Ten Hag and the team, because we were quite optimistic about when Ranić came in. I know he was an interim manager, but we just felt like the direction was going to change completely when Ollie sort of left his tenure and Ranić came in, and that never really materialised. But no denying that obviously Erik Ten Hag has got a lot more pedigree behind him. He seems to be a manager who's got a clear vision in what he wants to do. He's got more experience. And I think the general vibe was really good, John. I think everybody reacted really, really positively to it. He said some good things about. I'm going to let some of the other guys add their thoughts onto it as well. But he mentioned some really sort of positive things regarding sort of Ronaldo, which has obviously been up in the air in terms of the doubtfulness about whether he's going to have a role next season to play in the team. I think he addressed that in a certain sort of way. I think that's still open-ended to a degree. He obviously mentioned that he needed to speak to him in detail about what he wants to do next season, which I'm sure he will do, but he was quite positive about Ronaldo's inclusion, which I think is good for some of the fans and for his legacy at Man United as well. He kind of touched upon the Pep and Klopp situation as well, which I think was quite nice. That obviously it's been, for all football fans, their reign at the minute is obviously dominating English football, and I think some of his answers on that were pretty concise and pretty reassuring as Man United fans. I think again we have to be realistic with our title chase and our generally our challenge to those two teams and those two coaches. But I think overall, I think it was quite a positive response on that front. But a refreshing guy with a refreshing attitude, and hopefully he brings some players who've got that similar sort of work ethic as well in the summer, and we see a massive change in the club and in the ethic of our playing. I think even if we go in next season, we don't win a single thing, but we see an improvement in the way that we're playing football and that we're just competing more in all aspects and on all fronts in terms of what we're challenging for domestically and obviously in Europa League, then I think any of us will be too upset with that by this time next season. So, yeah, really, really positive, John. I'm looking forward to next season already, which is something I didn't think I'd say 2 weeks ago. So
I like that. Just what you said at the end there about even if we don't win anything, as long as we can say moving forward, and I get that. And it's almost like just seeing a vision or seeing some sort of plan in place, because at the moment, for the last few weeks, we basically, the way I've been seeing it is we've just been going game by game. We either win or we lose, but we know what's going to happen at the end of the season. We're going to get 6 or 7. Obviously, we managed to get 6 just about. But it's like we haven't seen that long-term vision, have we, for quite a while really. Whereas now, hopefully, we can kind of see what direction we're going in. Andy, your thoughts on today?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Ten Hag was from the little bits I saw him, I think he was very thorough in what he was saying. I mean, last season, United season just gone, it's just unravelled in every aspect. And I mean, obviously, yesterday we was relying on West Ham they lost to Brighton, so we ended up still getting the Europa League. So, but I mean, after such a bad season, I mean, it's positive to hear Ten Hag say, it's a talented squad he's got to work with as well. And he said he's looking forward to working with the players. And I think one of the quotes, he said, if we improve, if we can work with them, we'll get better results. And also, he's saying, I'll make my own judgments on the players. So I know Rolf's there as well. Now going into consultancy roles, I'm just thinking how much of Rolf is going to be involved, because obviously Rolf have had his opinion on the players that, are going or going to be staying. And I mean, he just said, Ten Hag says, that's going to be a part of my analysis, and he'll observe, he'll speak to other, the coaches as well, he's brought in as well. And obviously with Rolf as well, that situation with the consultant role, he said, that's on the club, what role, how that's all going to work out. So I don't know what the dynamic's going to be there. I don't know whether they're just going to go to Ralph for some advice or just contacts, for getting players. Nobody's quite stressed the finer details of his role, but I think the one key thing we've got to give Ten Hag time. We can't. Some fans out there will be expecting immediate success overnight at Old Trafford, and it's not going to happen like that. It's going to take time. I just think for the likes of Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp, it took him a good few years to get the squad he wanted and then start winning the trophies. So he said, I think Ten Hag, the quote said, I don't know about this moment. I'm just thinking this is a project and it takes time. We want to win every game. We'll go from game to game and we'll see. And I'm pleased he said about Ronaldo. I think we can rebuild the squad now, but Ronaldo can be a part of that, whether it's just...
what the fuck is going on?
Still, I think you are there. You're just slow.
Right, Stu?
We can hear you, Stu.
It's not. Yeah, I can hear you. We're having some work done with our fibre. They're doing some work on our junction box on the fibre. I think it's killing me.
So yeah, what was I? So that has actually
Now,
thrown me.
let me throw something back at you there, Andy, because you said something interesting there about he'll make his own judgment on the players. That's great. But what happens if it takes him 6 months to make these judgments? I'm just playing devil's advocate as I always do, because I think it's great. He should make his own judgment. But we've seen some of these players play under Mourinho, Ole, Rangnick. Have we now got to wait another 6 months for maybe Ten Hag to decide if these players aren't good enough? Is it going to be a waste of a transfer window because you may not want to bring some people in just yet until he sees what we've got? Again, I'm just throwing that one out there because I do agree. It's thoroughly down to him. We trust him in his decision making now. But we also don't want to waste time, do we?
I just think Ten Hag might make his mind up pretty quick who he wants and well, there's obviously certain players that are out of contract and they might go, well, we're going to leave anyway, or you might convince some of those that are out of contract to sign on again. But I think he's going to make up his mind there pretty quick. So obviously he's been analysing United, well, even before he was appointed as well. And then, like I say, even cut short, well, once he left Ajax, he could have gone on holiday, had some rest, but no, he just said, I want to get down to work straight away. So I don't think we're going to be waiting too long for Ten Hag to make his mind up. I think he's just going to be, as I say, getting down to business. And I just think, as I say, the point I was going to make beforehand, so we can rebuild the squad and Ronaldo can be a part of that for I know he's got one more season, so he can just be the one to get us going forward. And then say if Ronaldo's and then leaves at the end of next season, then we'll say we can lead us on to better things. He can.
John, anything kind of stick out for you today? Anything kind of like takes your eye more than anything else?
I think there are some interesting points. I think Reece mentioned, the comment about when he was asked about Klopp and Pep, when he would say like that people believe that until one or both of them go, their dominance won't end, and he's self-believed says, well, no, I believe I can do it, or my team can do it. Obviously, it'll take time, of course it will. And I was also struck by his interview on MUTV as well. And it's interesting, he used the phrase, well, good isn't good enough, So, and you have, and that is a man who is very determined. He won't rest until we've succeeded, and basically you saw it. He's just won the league with Ajax the weekend before last, and the day after he's already preparing to get ready for the United job. That shows a man who knows the job at hand is massive, but he's got to do everything within his power to succeed and everything. And I think his general persona will come into this as the show goes on, but it's interesting the way certain questions that were raised, which could create a headline maybe, like what he was asked about the game yesterday. He was asked about having Maguire captaincy, he was asked about, Ronaldo and that kind of thing, and I think it was interesting that I think his answers were quite guarded, but understandably, because one that he doesn't want to cause headlines, not spoken to the players yet, and he doesn't want to make any decisions yet until he's had the chance to meet them. Obviously, some of the problem players will go, once leaving because their contract's expiring, and they'll have to make some. We've been told that players like Henderson and Wan-Bissaka will probably be on the move most likely, and but it's interesting because he's got a big job on his hands, and you mind I've done a bit of stat work. Kind of mentioned I'm the stats man before, and I've managed to get some stats to prove how bad last season was. As we know, 58 points is our lowest points in the Premier League history. 16 wins, which is the fewest in Premier League history. We had a 0 goal difference, which is the worst. It's been for us since the 1989-90 season, where it was -1. we conceded 57 goals, which is a record in the Premier League, and it's also the highest we conceded in a season in the league since 1978-79 season, which was 63. And interestingly, we conceded 4 more goals than Burnley this season, and they got relegated. And here's the scariest one of all. We conceded 9 goals more this season than what we did in the 73-74 season when we got relegated. We conceded 48 that season. So, those are the stats I've got for this season. So, there we go.
So Ten Hag can't fail then, John. That's basically what you're saying.
Yeah. It can't get much worse, can it?
Doesn't look like it.
Just let me finish this, and I'm going to go slip my wrists. I think it's great to have such a great load of breath of fresh air now. I don't know if anybody else agrees that we're just now like definitely onto that new era of things, and that's just gonna. It does feel like more confident with everything that's going on, even in like the backstage of like United, let alone what's happening at the front right now. And haven't we got like a new sponsor now, like a Dutch sponsor?
Back to try and price you one more time. I'm not too sure, Vicky. Yeah, that's good. Soon-ish. It's a little bit better.
Well, yeah, but basically what they're doing, they're working on our junction box up at the top of our street. They're putting some new fibre cable, and I'm not quite sure. So it's been a bit hit and miss today all day. Sorry about that.
I'm like that when someone messes around with my box.
You missed me stats, Stu.
Well, I heard the stats, and as you all know, I'm not really a stats kind of guy. But I was listening to those, and sorry, were you talking, Vic?
Yeah.
Well, in fairness, it was John who interrupted because he's like, let's get Stu in one more time.
Sorry, Vic. Oh,
You come on there, Vic.
No, fine. Go on.
See, you've hugged the limelight. Not only have you spoke over, you're wearing a bright yellow t-shirt. Only I get to wear a bright yellow t-shirt. It's got like "kick it out" on it.
It's actually peach. It's a peach colour.
Oh, peach. Nice.
It's quite nice. I like it.
Yeah.
So I'm asking everyone's thoughts on how today's gone, like the whole demeanour of the whole attitude and all that kind of thing about today on social media as well. So what's your thoughts on today?
Well, I watched Ten Hag's interview on MUTV, and it was just a standard PR kind of stunt. And then obviously his main interview press conference I thought was quite interesting, but nobody really pressed him. Nobody really got down to the nitty gritty about how he sees the future of the club, what mistakes have been made in the past. Are all a bit kind of frightened and a bit tentative to ask him that. Nobody asked him about fan expectation, how he was going to manage that side of it. But as I said on the Spaces at lunchtime, the biggest thing that I took out of it will be the players. I think he sent a very, very clear message to the players about his demeanour, his persona, and how he's going to be. And I think the players will probably realise already that it's going to be monumentally different come pre-season training, the 27th of January, June, I think it is when they're coming back. So I'll be interested to see, a style of play. He made it quite clear, and I've been speaking about this, by the way, for months, so it's well chuffed, that managers don't instill a style of play, it's the players. He's got to utilise the players. They're the ones that have the style of play. So I've been talking about this for months, as you well know, guys, and so I was quite pleased that he mentioned that. So I think moving forwards, depending on the profile of player he wants to get in, he'll need to get them in relatively quickly because he's going to want a short break before they come back in June. It will be quite interesting to see where we go. So yeah, quite looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think we all think that, don't we, after today? So it's great just to kind of move on now and actually see what the future hopefully entails. Reece, you've got a few bullet points from today's interview. Do you want to kind of shout out a couple, and obviously we can just discuss them a little bit?
Yeah. If just if anybody's got any questions as well, like in the chat, like just ask away as well. I'm sure like we'll all just pop up and answer if we can. But I think like Andrew and John have kind of already mentioned it. I forgot about the initial MUFC kind of media stunt, Stu, because that was like my reaction initially. I was like, oh god, is this what it's going to be? And then I didn't realise that that there was actually going to be a press conference, so I was quite pleasantly surprised to see that. But you're right, no one really sort of pressed him. There was a couple of attempts. What kind of made me chuckle a little bit is, I don't know if anybody saw it, but it was like when he came out initially and he shook all the hands, and you could just see like there was it kind of like humanized him a little bit, because obviously the media are usually quite cold in those rooms, and they were like a little bit shocked, like how he's coming across and being really friendly to them, and a lot of them were kind of like sat down and frozen. So it was quite funny to see that.
Maybe it was an element to keep your friends close, but your enemies close.
Well, there was one guy who used to do that at Man United, and he did it quite well. Don't know if you remember him, but he was there for a long time. And that was Fergie, and he did it. He was the best one at doing it. So you're right. You get the media on side, you keep them quiet. Then you usually got a fighting chance of keeping your job, haven't you? As well, there's two halves of that job, and I think the media is one of them. But I think the main points really. Obviously, he was asked about his style. I think as fans, we're quite keen on seeing that. I said sort of pre-show that I think he struggled a little bit, which rightly so. I think he's only just started learning English a little bit, and I think he struggled to sort of convey his style across, which was understandable. I think we got the gist of it though, and I think for the fans that have kind of watched a bit of the Ajax, these Ajax teams will understand kind of what that means to play for Erik Ten Hag, and that means that every player's got a role in the team, that no one's more important than each other, and they work as a team. And I think that was kind of strictly his philosophy, really, which kind of came across in the interview, which was quite good. He was asked about kind of the risk to the job. Obviously, he's come from Ajax. Mm-hmm. He's got his successful club. He's doing well. And was it a risk to come to United? Currently haven't got Champions League football, or on a slight decline. He sort of said, no, I've got a massive club, I've got a huge history, and I've got a potential to have a huge future, and I want to be part of that. And I thought that was quite nice and reassuring to hear as well. But he's in it for the long haul. He wants to be here and really get United back on track and take us up a few notches as well. I've obviously asked about Ronaldo, which I thought was quite funny. What's Ronaldo going to bring to United? Goals. Goals, that's what he's going to bring. What else does he bring? I went in to ask a bit about his coaching, his mentoring of youth, and I think he said, well, look, I'm going to be speaking to Ronaldo before I'm speaking to you about anything I'm going to be doing with Ronaldo outside of playing him in the first team. And I thought that was quite reassuring as well. Immediately already keeping the media at bay, which I thought was quite good. I think the big one, and I think it was kind of what John touched on earlier as well, was the Klopp and the Pep comparisons. Are Klopp and Pep somebody who can be knocked off their perch, or do we have to wait till one of these guys moves on to another club or retires? And he said, well, no, I think we've got enough in our armoury in the next few years to start challenging. And I thought that was quite nice. I thought that was quite, again, reassuring that he isn't going to wait around for that era to come to an end. He wants to get in amongst it. I saw a tweet from somebody, I think it might have been, or was it a comment today, John, where I think you'd said about the Wenger and Fergie era, and then all of a sudden Mourinho popped up to say hello. Why can't Ten Hag be that Mourinho? Why can't I come in and upset the apple cart and be that that third wheel that basically grabs the Premier League by storm and takes it under his control? So that's something I think we've got to be looking forward to as well. Was asked a bit about Ralph. I personally thought it was quite interesting that he mentioned, it was quite dismissive of Ralph. I think we talked about it pre-show about the fact that he's obviously going to keep his cards close to his chest and he's not going to mention much. But I think Ralph was quite open about that in his press conference leading up to Crystal Palace, and he said he was really wanted to speak with Ten Hag and obviously give him his knowledge, and Ten Hag seemed to be quite the opposite, to be honest, which suggests to me that he really doesn't want to know anything that's gone before him stepping into that press conference, which again, it could be quite a reassuring and positive move and step forward. Just a final one. I was asked about Donny van der Beek. I'll just end it there. And he said he was looking forward to seeing him. So that would suggest that he's potentially going to be bringing him back to the club as well after his loan spell. So that should be quite nice for Donny. But yeah, that's quite a quick synopsis of my notes, John. Yeah, on that one.
It's interesting. It's interesting the type of questions that there was being asked. All the things that we speak about, the fan base, and obviously the media as well. Obviously, the media acts on what we say because they know that we'll click or buy the papers. And I think they are very. I think the questions are just very not scripted as such, but it's like, oh well, the fans want to know about Maguire, the fans want to know about Ronaldo, the fans want to know about this, that, and the other. And it's kind of like they're just focusing on there, which is great. It's what we want to know. But at this point in time, Ten Hag's not going to know. You know, like I say, not even met the players yet, so he won't have these answers. But I think what this has done now is Ten Hag probably thinking to himself, right, this is obviously what's being spoken about around the club at the moment. And all of a sudden, we've kind of, they've alerted Ten Hag of the potential problems or the big issues around the club already. And you can't hide away from the media and the fans, can you? So I think that's good. Vicky, let's bring it to you. What are your thoughts on some of those answers to those questions?
Just very honest, very respectful, very to the point. Doesn't sound like a puppet, does he? So,
No.
what, do you want me to say anything else?
just come in when you think of something else. I'll bring John in first. And go on, John.
Yeah, I think what a lot of the comments were interesting, which Reece pointed out. I think it was interesting the points he raised about. I can't remember now. It was the point is his desire to make a challenge like the Cop and Pep. Mark, I did mention the chat before that it reminded me a bit of like when Fergie and Wenger were dominating all those years, between 96 and 2004, the league was equal by United up Arsenal. Then all of a sudden, so every Mourinho Champions League when it comes to Chelsea, and he breaks that run. And not saying Ten Hag will, obviously hope he does, but I think it's someone that I think he'll take a bit. Like Reece mentioned, he was quite guarded during the press conference, and I think that he perhaps isn't the type where he'll give out a load of information. He won't necessarily be box office in his press conferences, and I think it'll take him a time to get used to the media in this country and that kind of thing. I think in Holland his reputation press conferences wasn't necessarily the best, but he did improve over time, so I think it might take him a bit of time to get used to the press conference style of the media in this country before he starts to feel his own. But he handled them pretty well today. Like Stu mentioned before, he was very. I don't think there were necessarily any. There was some testy question, but there weren't when he gave an answer, there weren't any follow-up questions. Can you clarify that? I think he was very blunt with his answers, and I think the journalist didn't know what to do about that, because it was just, I'm not giving anything big away almost, and yes, I am here to succeed, and that I think. And I think the most interesting thing I thought the press conference was on where he was asked about United's history, and he was just like, yes, they have great players, Sir Matt Busby, Bobby Charlton, the Fergie years and that. But with respect, that was the past. I'm here to do things in the future. And that was one thing that I picked up, and I thought, well, that's interesting. As much as we love Sir Alex Ferguson, Sir Matt Busby, it's important, our history. It is history. You've got to live you've got to look to the future now, and hopefully Ten Hag can build his own dynasty. I think if he gets the right backing, I do feel he could be a success, but it's just a question whether he will be backed and that kind of thing. But yeah, overall, good impressions.
I think you've got to note the caution again. Anyone can speak. I speak on a daily basis in the media. I interview on a daily basis in the media, and everyone can speak. And we've had managers in the past, and we'll have managers in the future that will talk and talk and talk. You've got to deliver. It's all right talking. You have to deliver. So he's got to deliver. Some of what he says, it's going to take him a bit of time to obviously get everything sorted in terms of what he wants and how he wants it. But you've got to deliver. And that's the only note of caution you should ever take from a press conference.
Yeah. Something that's been brought up already, but Andy wants to talk about this in a little bit more detail about what players can expect from Ten Hag's training sessions now. So, Andy, do you want to kind of just introduce this topic? Because I think it's something that as fans, we always wonder what's going on in training, who's doing the coaching, who's the big characters, and obviously now a change of era. Now's a good time to obviously see a change. What are your thoughts on this one, Andy?
Ten Hag coming in now, the players that, depends, those that are out of contract, whether you see anything in those, whether he wants to offer them new contracts, but the ones that are there, I think there's going to be as I thought after the away game at Arsenal where we lost that game, I thought for these players that are going to still be here, I'm like, things are going to they're going to change now, because there's no getting away with, as we've seen in games, like certain players like moaning, throwing their hands up in the air, going, what's going on? And it's just like, I think Ten Hag and the coaches, I think he made a key point in that press conference. He said, one of the journalists asked him, what does his new assistant coming in and Steve McLaren coming back? He said, they're winners. He says, that's what I'm bringing with me. So that's what he needs to instill into those players as well now. So say it's a talented squad. So Ten Hag knows what he's got to work with, and I just think I can't wait. I'm glad he's getting them back in. They're only having a month off from, so they can have their couple of weeks break going on holiday, but then it's getting down to the work for the next season. Because I'm not sure whether, because as we qualify for the Europa League, I don't know whether we have to actually qualify for it. I'm sure when West Ham got finished, was it 5th or 6th the season before, they had to qualify for it. So I'm just trying to think if we've got to actually qualify for that tournament. So say the season might start even early for us in terms of preparation. So just certain players, I'm interested to see who he's going to like. You mentioned Donny van der Beek as well, and I'm just thinking, will he get his chance now as well? But another player I'm just seeing come up on my screen as well, Anthony Martial, because obviously the Spanish press have they've not had so many good things to say about him since his loan spells ended. So can Ten Hag get a tune out of him? I don't know, but it's going to be an interesting summer to see, what Ten Hag does. I say got to give him time, as I said, and the immediate success might not just be there instantly like some fans want. But I just think I'm trying not to get too ahead of myself. I think we've got a really good manager. I just say I don't want to. I just think it might take us a good couple of years before we winning the league title and the Champions League. So just might be having to wait a little bit. So patience is key, and I know most of us United fans are the most patient. So just say things might not go. There might be bumps in the road, and we might not get results we want. But let's say it's just learning from those results, and then just working to get better each time.
Yeah, did you want to have your side on that one, Reece?
Sorry. Yeah, I feel like I've spoken too much tonight. If anybody else wants to take over from me, please be my guest. But especially because we've been on the spaces and stuff on today. But no, yeah, I don't know. Just in terms of the Ten Hag thing, yeah, I suppose he's coming with a whole demeanour, isn't he, in terms of what he wants from his players and what he wants from the team in general. I think he has clearly from his demeanour, he looks like somebody who doesn't take any crap. So naturally, you're going to expect that in training, aren't you? That he's going to come with a certain work ethic into training, and that's going to improve us as a team. I mean, naturally, that those things are going to hopefully come. I think he's going to benefit from the fact there's a lot of players who have kind of created that bad atmosphere over the last year or two that are going to be leaving. Which I think supports his case even further and supports his cause in terms of building that right work ethic. He's not going to be battling with players for another year or 2 or 3 years, trying to convince these players to play his way. He's almost going to get rid of those players, or they're going to leave, so he's going to be able to replace them with the players that he kind of wants. So, yeah, I think overall we've got nothing to be worried about in terms of Ten Hag, his philosophy, his style, his work ethic. It's about the current players who are going to still be there after he's not the ones that are leaving, the ones that are going to remain, and whether they're going to buy into it. And I think if they don't, then Ten Hag will find a way to shift them on. So yeah, I've got no worries about Ten Hag at all, especially from today. But I think again we've got to be kind of realistic with it all and just expect that. The first step is just seeing some improvement in form and in some level of control in games. And then I think as Stu said earlier on today when we were speaking, it's getting a run of games behind us then and a run of wins. And then things start to come from that then. Success starts to come from that. But generally, we've just got to take one step as it comes. And I think equally it's just going into games and kind of seeing a philosophy and expecting to win as well. I think we've lost that kind of United feeling when we go into games where you expect to win. Like with City yesterday, for example, when they were even 1 or 2-0 down, we used to have that as United fans, didn't we? Where we felt like we were always going to come back. We were always going to come back into games. We always had that feeling, and we've lost that as well. We've lost that kind of fight and that the Palace game over the weekend. You didn't really feel like we were ever going to come back into that game, and that's just not a feeling I ever want to have again. And hopefully that's something that Ten Hag can just bring back as well. So. Yeah, lots to be positive about, as we said before. I think with Ten Hag, as John's kind of nicely put with all his statistics, it can't possibly get any worse than this. So, yeah.
So that's I did say that actually, Reece. Yeah, you're right at lunchtime. For me, it's all about putting a run of game together because
I do listen to you, Stu. I do listen.
I know, only on occasion. Only on the odd occasion. But no, I've gone on record as saying that we need to put a run of 10 or 11 wins together, not draws or unbeaten games. But we need to put together, 10 or 11 wins. And that will take you somewhere towards your goal, whether it's a semi-final or a final of a cup, where it might get you into top 4, but it will take you somewhere to a goal. But what it does ultimately is it gains you momentum. It allows the squad to enjoy football again. I mean, 6 months ago, half of our squad didn't want to be there, didn't want to play football, forgot what it was that got them up in the morning when they were 6 and 7 and 8 years old, going out with their friends before school, kicking a ball around, and that sheer excitement of looking forward to playing football. They forgot what it was all about. And when you forget that, it's a real problem because it becomes a chore. And it just, you drag yourself out of bed in the morning, you drag yourself to training, you think to yourself, oh God, what are we going to do today? Blah, 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 blah. But it's got nothing to do with the coaches or the manager. It's about the individual. Now, I've also gone on record as saying that our players are mentally weak, and they are. And it's up to them to sort that out. Whether they go to a psychologist or not, it's up to them to really kind of sort out what's going on between them, in their brain. Because they lack common sense, a lot of these players. And Andrew was on a show with me probably 9 months ago when I turned around and had a pop at somebody over coaching because I was fed up to here with, hearing about how poor our coaches are. And I went on record then, and I'll say it again today so that people understand me. What the hell can you teach a professional footballer that he doesn't already know about the game? It's all about fine-tuning specifics. And you can train and you can plan for as much as you actually like during a week. But if you can't apply it or won't apply it on the weekend, all the work the coaches have done or tried to do during the week just goes completely out the window. So Ten Hag's got it, and he does understand that because of the way that his Ajax teams used to play football. They were the most fluid footballing side that I've seen in a long, long time, except Brighton. If you look at what Brighton can do, they can change formations at the click of a hat. And don't forget, I'm not a fan of formations because you're only really defending a formation. You attack the best way you possibly can. And if that's always down the left, it's down the left. If it's down the right, it's down the right. So I just feel that Ten Hag needs to go in and needs to assess what he's got. I would keep Mata for one. I would utilise him in terms of his experience with the younger players. They're actually the players, by the way, these younger players, they need to understand what it's like to be a professional footballer. And they've got to look at Mata and just maybe look at what he does before a game, just before a game kicks off, after a game, how he looks after himself. For these younger players, we need all of that. Because I've gone on and spoke about on-field coaching before and a lack of on-field coaching. So I just feel that Ten Hag, if he brings, he's got McLaren in, he's got Van der Gaag in, if they can instill a new positivity, but put the onus on the players a bit more to, really go out there and play for the club, play for themselves, play for the families. I think it might take us somewhere, but I just think it's going to take time, that's all.
You've got some fans in the comments today. I don't know if you've been paying someone or getting all your relatives to watch, but you got some love in the comments today, Stu. So a lot of people agreeing with you. The question on screen, I'll let Vicky have a say on this one. Will he pick Bruno or bring back Van der Beek or potentially even both? What are your thoughts on that one, Vicky, or what would you like to see happen?
Well, I'd imagine that would all happen with the training and pre-season and what he's going to decide to do, because I take it he's doing like a clean slate. Bruno lost his form of play recently, but Donny van de Beek, I think, has just been absolutely terrible. I mean, probably never should have gone to Everton because it was not the place for him to go to. He should have picked more of an aggressive attacking sort of play. And yet he did score that goal. So yeah, I don't know, because Bruno's done much more. He's done the third highest assist this season, something like that. And
that's one for John. John, have you got a stat on that?
Yeah.
What's that? Sorry.
Who's
Bruno?
How many assists has Bruno done in the Premier League?
Oh, I know we got 7 in the Champions League.
We got 6 in the Premier League.
I know he got 10 goals.
Yeah.
So 6, 13. Yeah, 10 goals, 13 assists.
You're steadily becoming like our Richard Osman.
But yeah, that's my opinion. I know that Van der Beek was meant to be like really good. I mean, he was picked and he was picked as a player of the year or something, wasn't he? Well, he's 20th, but he's not been good for United. There was obviously something going on because he was never picked first, and I think it has showed when he went on loan. But he's a true professional, so give him that one. Very likable.
I think equally, just to kind of carry on from where Vicky left off there as well, I completely agree with that. I really liked him. I mean, he's kind of my style of football. I'm hopeful Stu likes him as well, because he likes Mata, and I think there's a fair similarity there in terms of how they like to play. in that kind of interchangeable sort of passing in the short areas and around the boxes and all that kind of stuff. I think he's got quite a nice game to him. Did it suit United? Probably not. It's quite a direct. United always like to play quite direct, and I think Van der Beek's someone who kind of slows the game down. I'm not suggesting that matters that in that aspect, but there's other similarities. But I think with Van der Beek, obviously, somebody that Ten Hag clearly has a lot of time for. It put a smile on his face when he was asked the question, and the media went out of the way to ask that in terms of, they had half an hour to ask him some serious questions, and Van der Beek popped up on one of them. So it was enough for them to ask. And I think he's got a strong possibility he'll play next season. I think Bruno's. I think Vicky makes a very good point there that I think he made it that point several times that this is a clean slate. He's going to make his own judgment. He's not anybody else's side for this. And I think that's a really good point that she makes there in terms of that. It's a complete clean slate.
We're going to move this on
I
a
think
little
you'll.
bit. Go on, Stu. No, go on. Finish it.
I was just going to make a point about Van der Beek. I think he will play next season. I think you'll find that he'll. Ten Hag will bring in a six, a proper six. A six will just marshal the back four. Probably not go too deep into the opposition territory, but marshal our back four more than anything, which will allow a player like Donny and Bruno to coexist. And Bruno and Donny can coexist as a kind of twosome, so to speak. And then once you've got our main focal point, which is a centre forward, whoever that may be, and our two wide players. If our two wide players attack the diagonals like Rashford and Martial did a couple of seasons ago, with the guile of Donny and the presence and pressure of Bruno with his assists, we will become a very attacking and dangerous side. What's tended to happen is we were playing the likes of McTominay and Fred, who'd never suited each other. They would never get married together because they're just the polar opposites of what you need in a team, a collective unit. So I think with Bruno will play higher. Obviously, Donny will play the box-to-box 8. He has played a 6, Donny. He has played a 10. And he has played an 8. And I think Ten Hag would employ him as an 8. And then what that would do would unlock the potential of our wider players if they do decide to attack the diagonals. And you'll see a far more attacking threat if we have a proper holding player, Donny and Bruno. I think it'll be quite a good combination.
I want to bring in a different topic now that Andy mentioned to me a little bit earlier on Patrice Evans' comments. So do you want to kind of just say what's been said, Andrew, and then I'll let John kind of maybe have his say on it?
Yeah, it's just Patrice Evans gave an interview after that Legends game on Saturday, and obviously the subject of Paul Bobler came up, and the season now over, and now he's out of contract, and more than likely he's going to leave. And just said, it feels like it was all destined. Well, his return was all destined to go wrong, and it's the way the stories played out. It's just come to a sad ending. And he just said, I feel like there's been too much negativity around Paul Pogba. I mean, obviously the price tag that we paid for him didn't help him either. But then you could look at it. The majority of the players that who signed for United in the last since Fergie left have not hit the expected heights that we hoped, and that's not just on the players, that's on the club too. But I think you mentioned something about his Paul Pogba's stats as well, because he's saying, his stats at United are much better than he was at Juventus. And I had a look and I thought he has got a point. They are slightly better than he was at Juve, but I think he's making reference to like people outside saying, they seem to focus on Pogba, what haircut he's got, his social media, and he's saying, maybe he's had a bit of unfair treatment from the beginning. But on the other point, he says, he's got to take responsibility for his consistency on the pitch as well, which has at times been lacking. But then you could argue over the last several years, which United player has been consistently that good. Even De Gea has had his seasons where he's not been that good. And I just think from a fan's point of view, it's like, when Pogba gave that interview, was it a while back to the French media saying United's season was dead, and I just felt like it all, it just came to the end of the road. And I just think obviously he hasn't been helped by changing the managers, and which position is he best on the pitch for him. But I just feel like it's a sad ending for him, for us and Pogba. I mean, he's a talented player, and we know it's in there, but we was hoping when he came back he'd be that figure that would inspire the team back to winning a lot more trophies. But it just seems to not happen like that. So I just think, was it always destined to go wrong? And I just don't know. I just think, was it the high transfer fee, or we just expected too much from him when he came back?
Do you have a point on that, Vicky?
Didn't Pogba and Luis Hart, they played for the same team when Pogba went to, I want to say, Juventus.
Yeah, they both played together, I think.
So
yes.
I think he kind of just sort of has a bit more of a personal view about Pogba, because I think they used to share a room and everything when they were traveling. So I think when it comes to that, I feel like it's just a bit. He's coming from a hurt friend rather than saying all this things. Pogba makes his own drama. He makes his own issues, and you know what? Fair play when you're getting stick from fans and you give it back, like you should. It's just he just doesn't. He's never stopped once making drama after drama after drama, and he also only appears when he wants to. So I'm actually so glad he's gone. I'm sick of hearing his name. Don't ever want to really be bothered with him anymore. But I just don't see how he can say that he get quite a lot of negative connotations because he made them himself. He done most of it himself. That's all I'm going to say about that. Sorry.
I agree with Lanza's point. I think Pogba is a good player, just not working out at Man United for both. And obviously, I think that's the way I kind of look at it. But there is loads of comments, so it's very hard for me to keep up because I want to get these guys to have a bit of a chat as well. John, do you want to come in on the on that topic, mate?
Yeah, I think in many ways, Edward's comments, well, don't go not the nicest. I think it might be correct for one simple reason, I think, and that is I'm never a fan of re-signing a player who you let go of, who left you good previously. And I think that it's very rare that you have a player who plays two different spells in the cup and is successful. I know Ronaldo's had a good season this, but it's not nearly as good as what it was the first time. And I mean, maybe Mark Hughes back in the day, you could argue. And but I just think he hasn't been supported. He's never been the most defensively responsible player. And I think we've never really had a CDM to cover for his weaknesses, and let's say that. So I think the club have let him down. But I think also, like Vicky mentioned, he's been inconsistent. I've always felt with Pogba, he plays well when the team's playing well. When we're not playing well, he disappears. And I think he is that type of player. And I don't think, yes, while he did win the World Cup, France, he played well in that tournament. I think what people don't realise, which I always felt, that to win the World Cup, you got to play 7 games. I think Pogba has shown that he can play well for 7, 8, 9, 10 games in a row. But he can't play well for 20, 30 games in a row. And I think that's a big problem. And I think that it's a two-way street. I don't think we need to be bitter at all about it. I think it is what it is. I think it's best he moved on, and he's not given his all for us, nor have we given our all to help him. So he's clearly a talented player, but I don't think he's not on the level of a Brian Robson or Paul Scholes or Roy Keane or anyone like that. So yeah, that's my overall view of the situation.
Look, go. Just go. He should have gone 2 years ago, in my humble opinion. I I don't think there was a lack of passion or love for the club. I just think he doesn't. His kind of demeanour, his overall game, his language style. I don't think it suited Manchester United. It certainly didn't suit the Premier League. It suits a more sedate league, like maybe the French league or maybe the Italian league. And I think a best option for him, or would have been a couple of years ago, was to go back to Juventus or maybe go to PSG. I think he's probably 2 years overstayed his welcome. He just can't seem to adjust, in my view, to the Premier League and the pace of it. It's not for him.
Yeah, I'd just have a final say on that as well. I think the guys have all touched on it really, really well, and I think with Pogba, it has been sad. I think everyone summed it up by saying it's a sad story. It has been a sad story because I think we all wanted it to succeed. With him being a product of the academy and stuff, and him coming back and hopefully being, that player that we all hoped he would be. But yeah, it has been sad for that reason that it hasn't worked out. I think ultimately, when you look at the players that he should have been sort of compared in the bracket of, especially in the current era, I suppose the most notable one being sort of Bruyne. Really, he should be there. He should be sort of hitting sort of the same numbers, if not trying to compete someone at that level. The kind of the price tag, irrespective of the price tag, with his ability that everybody knows and everyone speaks about, he should have been sort of at that kind of same level. And he just haven't ever touched upon it. I think the season before last, he produced some performances where you felt like he was back on it. At the beginning of the season, he started off pretty well, but just the consistency. I think everybody sort of speaks about that. Ex-professionals speak about that in terms of being at that very top level, in terms of world class level. That you need consistency. It's all right doing it one week against Norwich or 1 week against Leeds, but then not doing it, consistently and against the bigger and better teams as well. I think he's somebody that we, as fans as well, all relied upon to be that next like sort of world class star that could take us up to that next notch. And he just never was. I think he's somebody who kind of sits back and is quite willing to let other players take that kind of mantle. He'll go to PSG. He's quite happy to be a bit part player to Mbappe and Messi and Neymar and not be the main man. And that's a shame, because I think his game is better than that and his talent is better than that he can go to these clubs and he can be the main man. But he doesn't want it. He doesn't want to be that player. So that's fine. He needs to move on, and we need to get players who want to come and who want to be the very, very best. And I think that ultimately that's why it's quite sad to see that we've parted ways. But yeah, nobody wants to see players get booed. I think irrespective, unless there's been some level of disrespect, I think should never really get booed. But yeah, move on. I think we move on.
We're going to move on then. We're going to move on to Stu. So it's 11 o'clock and Stu's on the show. So that means one thing. We're going to talk about something or another. We spoke about his balls. We spoke about his shirts. We spoke about his boots.
Yes.
What we're going to speak about today, Stu?
Well, I just wanted to ask everybody about shin pads. And I'm an old school footballer. And so my shin pads are tiny. They're about, that big really, and they tuck down into my socks, and they fall out quite a lot during matches and things of that nature. But my very first pair of shin pads, were actually Manchester United shin pads. I bought them from the club shop that was back in 1978, I think it was, when I went to watch United at Old Trafford, obviously. And what they were a small plastic pair of pads that got like some polystyrene foam backing.
Yeah, I had them.
Yeah, they got the Manchester United emblem stuck onto the front. And to make them fit, to wrap around your leg, because they were quite tough, you had to put them in boiling hot water to kind of mould them around your leg. And then I had to get either two shoelaces or two pieces of string or some sellotape to wrap them around your leg, because they were terrible. And I always remember them. And so those were my very first. And obviously shin pads have evolved like everything else, like footy boots and that. Since then, they got lighter, they got stronger. But ultimately, they're there to protect your legs. Now, as far as I'm concerned, if you're going for a crunching tackle, a shin pad's not really going to do much. It's not going to protect you too much, and it hasn't protected me in the years. My shins are full of scars where I've been studied through my pads and all of that nature. So I just wondered, going back to your youth, what was your first pair of shin pads? What did you like about them? What do you think of today's shin pads? Do you wear ankle pads? Oh, what's all that about? Seriously, ankle pads? Come on, get a life. Don't play football.
I honestly can't. I think I might have got it from mine from JJB Stockadale near the Trafford Centre. I can't remember which ones they were, but I started playing around 2000, 2001, I think. And, there was a 5-a-side pitches near the Trafford Centre, but basically at the JJB store, then I'm pretty sure I got my first pair of shin pads from
there. Yeah, I see. I go I still play on a Monday and a Wednesday, and on a Wednesday I don't wear shin pads. I just roll my socks down and just see how you get on with it. But it's quite bad. I mean, I bought my lad a pair of shin pads. I think it was the start of this season, and I paid 60 quid for these things, and they were like they're like a pair of socks with like shin pads into them. They're the latest Nike things or something like that. So far cry from, I'm pretty sure, the £1.99 my dad spent years ago. So, yeah, I'm just. What about you, Andrew? Riveted on you this comment.
I'm just trying to think. I think it was back at school. Those long shin pads with the Velcro on. So, making sure, getting the Velcro tied around the back of my legs. So, trying not get kicked in the football matches at school. So, I can't remember if they were a brand name or not, but I just remember them having Velcro on it. And so, those are my shin pads that I had.
That sort of takes me back a little bit. I forgot about that. I had some shin pads like that. I had a couple of. I just remember them being big and bulky, and there was always space sort of like either side. Didn't really sort of fit your shin well enough. Like you said, the Velcro on the back of the calf, and then I had some like pretty bad knocks on my ankle, so I did get the all-in-one ones, which were just awful because they were just massive. So trying to get your sock over the whole thing was ridiculous. But then I think when I got a little bit older, just got the ones where you have they come now with like another sock that you put on and you slide in, and then you just tape the bottom up so the shin pad doesn't slide out. So kind of just did that. And my lad's got them now, so they're just my biggest bugbear with shin pads now. Now my lad's like 8 and playing football for the last year and a half is trying to find his bloody shin pads. Where do you put your shin pads? And it's like one's missing and the other one's. So it's like that's kind of that's a massive mission now. Like trying to find his chuffing shin pads. That's like the butt of all arguments with 8-year-olds.
You should have a backup pair, Reese. When
Jakey we've got a backup pair.
When Jakey was younger,
that's why he wears odd ones.
Yeah. Well, when Jakey was younger, I used to have I had three packs of shin pads in my boot in my car, a big bag of wipes and that, so I could clean his footy boots because he couldn't be bothered during the week. Clean the shin pads down, so he has to go pristine because. The club that Jakey used to play for, they used to fine him if his boots were dirty and stuff of that nature. But of course, they were all multicoloured things, weren't they? Pinks, whites, yellows, greens, that type of thing. But so Reese, honestly, get 3 packs of pads, pal.
I know.
A few pairs of socks, a load of wipes, and just load them in your car, mate. It's funny as
well, the thing they do now for kids as well is I'd never seen these before I started playing football. Really, was they call like laces, or like a rubber thing that go over your boot to stop your laces from undoing. So it's like that would have been a godsend like 10, 15 years ago. So need those shin pads like mitts. The kids have mitts where the string goes around the arm, but like shin pads where it like goes around the legs and they can't actually come off. So
We come to the end of the show where it's 11:10, so we're going to
Well, you
start
haven't told me
wrapping up.
yours. You haven't told me your shin pad yet, John. Or did
Well,
I
to be
miss
fair,
it?
you've covered both of them. So mine was very similar to your first one, although I never put them in hot water. I didn't even know that was a thing to do. But yeah, it was very, very similar to the way you described. Then all of a sudden, the next one was far too big to put my socks around it because my socks were too tight to get a big, massive shin pad that wasn't shaped around my calf. It was like almost flat. It was a Puma one, so it wasn't like a cheap make. But yeah, it was far too big to really get your socks around them. But yeah,
So-
that was pretty much it.
Let me take a stab. So you're talking about the ones that got individual slim kind of like protectors, so you could take them out and replace them.
First
So you
one,
could
yeah.
They used to be white or black, so you could take them out if you didn't want white one week and put black in. I remember it all, John.
I don't know if you can remember what it is.
John Maguire was right as well on that £60, Stu. I hope your lad didn't convince you to. Did you give your lad the £60 and he went away and bought them for £60, or did he buy a £10 pair and took the £50 for himself? You buy £60 for those shin pads?
No, I bought them for them. They're ridiculous. The price of shin pads today are a joke because of the socks. What they've done, back in the 90s, there used to be sock pads, okay? And what they were just a piece of foam that was kind of sewn into a elastic kind of sock, and used to pull that over. And they were rubbish because the foam was terrible. Everybody used to get injured wearing them. But now what they are, they've got this neoprene type of calf protecting kind of sock. And then they've got the carbon-like shin pads that go in between them, and they fit into a little kind of pocket. Oh God, I don't know what I'm talking. They fit into this pocket. Anyway, they're ridiculous.
If you've just tuned in, he's on about shin pads.
Hey, look! If you've missed these shows before, you've missed grip socks. Grip socks last week was gripping. Excuse the pun, but it was,
yeah, that was a show.
Do you wear two pairs of socks or one pair of socks? See, Vicky's bored now. Vicky's bored with chin pads.
It's like as Callum did the show last week. He goes, "You feel this." I think it was grip socks.
Most footballers throughout the years have gone out and bought, crikey, what do I wear and all this kind of stuff. What's in it? I think what we'll do one week is what's in your football bag, and then we can talk about what we all take to football match.
Why not? It's good. I like to end the show on these notes. It definitely lightens the mood. And thanks to everybody in the comments for staying with us. I know it's getting quite late, but you obviously wanted to know what was down his socks. Simple as that. And I used to keep a tissue down my socks, but yeah, we'll move on. Thank you to everybody for staying tuned, and thank you to everybody on screen. And we shall see you next week. See you later, guys.